This sequence will be about groin, lower back, glutes. Chances are that if you feel pain in one of these areas, you may feel the pain being triggered during the workout. If the pain stays below 6, I suggest you continue. If it starts growing fast and going to 7+, you stop. Chances are that when the muscles in this area are strained, after a very short break, you can continue, and I suggest that what you do. So you take a pause, and then you continue with the follow-along sequence. This workout will require no equipment, but I'm going to give you some exercises at the end of the video that you can practice with the circle. But doing the sequence up to the point that we are using the circle will be very useful for you. So we're going to start with a plank. So if you want arms straight, absolutely fine. If you want forearms down, absolutely fine as well. And for there, tucking the tailbone under and sending your heels back, closing the space between the 12th rib and the hip bone. And you just stay. Remember, if at some point you want to move from straight arms to forearms or the other way around, absolutely fine. I want you to notice if one of the two sides of your inner thighs or lower back is triggered, and you monitor, because as I said in the very beginning, the pain may gradually increase or may stay the same. If you feel any pain in your lower back, tuck the tailbone under even more, even harder, and you can either brace by closing the 12th rib and the hip bone, or pull the navel in if the pain is not very intense. If the pain is intense, you want to brace, yeah. And from there, we are going to start leaning forwards and backwards. And you want to make these leans as big as possible. It can be very small or it can be big. From here, hips back into downward dog, and you lean forward, walking the feet forward, tucking the tailbone under. Walk the feet back, downward dog, and forward. Every time you move forward, you want to be holding the end position. Tailbone up. Last one. And you release. You will be lying on your side now, and you can have either the hand supporting your head, or you can be on your forearm. Whatever feels more comfortable for your shoulder. Realistically, this is a harder version, as you will need to maintain your torso straight and not to collapse. But I don't want to be putting any pressure on your shoulder, so choose which one of the two options you want. I will be demonstrating lying completely on the side. And from there, I want you to start lifting and lowering the top leg. I'm initiating the movement from my heel, so it's the heel going up, not the toes. So heel going up, and I'm keeping the movement faster, provided that it does not trigger any pain. Keep in mind that all of these exercises that we will be doing, if they cause pain, chances are that if you move slower, they will not. So that is something to consider when you go through the sequence, and also as you go through the sequence over time, because in the beginning you may have to move slower, and over time you may find accessible to move faster. Navel in, you want to be pulling the navel in and finding an elongation for your spine, which may even create a gap underneath your lower obliques. And now we will go through a little bit of bigger movements. Again, that is not my maximum. Maybe you will go close to your maximum, but just a little bit bigger than before. I'm still initiating, even with the bigger movements, the upward movement of the leg with my heel. And now I'm going into circles. For all of this, my goal is to keep my pelvis parallel with the side. So I don't want to be sending my top hip back, collapsing. I'm trying to think of exactly the opposite, sending my top hip forward. Again, something easier to do if I'm moving slower. Change direction. And release. Top foot in front of your thigh, and you lift and lower the lower leg. Again, navel in. And now we're going to hold at the top for 10. Lower, and again. And lower, and lift, hold. And lower, and the last one. And lower. Release. Second side. Small pulses, top leg, hip square. Last 10 here. And now bigger. and release. Bring the top foot forward and start lifting the lower leg. Halfway. Last 10. And lift and hold now. Lower and again lift and hold. And lower, lift, hold. And last one, lower and lift and hold. And release. Now we're going to be going into side plank. And again, you can progress or regress it by being on arm straight to forearm, or even easier, you can be with one knee down. I'm going to demonstrate the medium, let's say, version in terms of challenge. So I will be on my forearm with my knees straight. Now, what you're doing with your feet also will make the exercise easier or harder. So one foot on top of the other probably will be the hardest one, but you can also set your foot in front of you, and this will provide a lot of stability. So from here, you do some crunches. Again, similar principles with what we were discussing before, pelvis parallel with the side. And release, change side. Long neck. And release. And we are now going to lie on our back. Feet close to the hips. Hands on either side of the hips, tailbone under, lift your hips up. Knees, hips and shoulders in one line, and from there, without letting the hips drop, you lift one leg up and you stay. You can bring the knee a little bit more towards your chest, but most important, you want to think of knees pulling towards each other, towards the midline. You don't want to let the knees move away from each other. You place the foot slowly down without letting the hips drop, and then you switch side. place the foot slowly down and you lift and you start marching now, and you lift and you lift. Extra tension when you are about to take one foot off the floor and when you are about to land. That's the time where the hips will have the tendency to drop. And last one. And from here, you walk the feet a little bit closer. Still knees towards each other. Lift your heels, lift your toes. Lift your heels, lift your toes. Lift your heels, toes, heels, toes, heels. Before we move on, I want you to point out the following. In the bridge position, your goal should be with your eyes to have access to your hip bones. That should be the case whether you are a man, a woman. If you don't, chances are that either your hips are not lifted enough or they are lifted but you are arching your back. So the way to correct that is soften the ribs, and if the hips are low, bring them up. So these exercises should be performed from this position. Slowly release, come down. Now, if you have a Pilates circle, get hold of it and lie again on your back. Place the circle between your ankles, just a little bit higher, and from there start squeezing the circle, pulses. Navel in as much as possible. And release. Circle on the outside of the ankles now, and again pulses, sending the feet away from each other. And release. On your side, And now you perform some circles with your lower leg. Notice that I'm using my top hand to stabilize my body, and I'm aiming to make as big circles with your lower foot, my lower foot. Change direction. And now a few pulses with the top leg. And last one, change side. Circles. And change direction. And pulses. And release. That is it. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you practice that regularly. This is the sort of workout that requires repetition to show its benefits, but it is guaranteed that it will bring a lot of stability in the pelvic area, help you resolve pelvic floor problems, groin problems, imbalances between left and right hip, and so on.